Welcome to PropTech Pulse, the podcast that takes the pulse of prop technology in multifamily. I'm your host, Shelley Robinson, and each week we'll be diving deep into innovations, challenges, and the future of work in property technology and multifamily. From AI-driven property management to blockchain and real estate, we're here to explore how technology is reshaping the way we live, work, and invest in multifamily communities. Whether you're a property manager, a tech entrepreneur, an executive, or even simply curious about the future of living spaces, PropTech Pulse is your weekly dose of insights and inspiration. So let's sync our rhythms and get on with the show. It's time to take the pulse. Today, I'm excited to welcome Sheena Pabari, a dynamic force in the intersection of corporate innovation and startup agility. She's the founder of SRP Consulting, and Sheena brings a unique perspective as a product management leader who has mastered both worlds, the fast-paced startup ecosystem and the structured corporate environment. She has a proven track record of launching revenue-generating solutions and building successful business models, and she's become a trusted expert in leveraging emerging technologies that drive growth. In today's episode, we're going to explore several critical themes shaping the future of real estate. Cutting-edge technological innovations, transforming prop tech, how evolving the live, work, and play ecosystem is reshaping resident experiences and fostering meaningful collaboration, the pivotal role startups play in revolutionizing these spaces, and the essential leadership skills and workforce development strategies needed to thrive in this rapidly evolving industry. Sheena's specialty lies in helping organizations integrate startup-style innovation with enterprise-level best practices, making her insights particularly valuable for our PropTech Pulse audience today. Sheena, welcome to PropTech Pulse.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Shelley. Glad to be here.
So glad you decided to join us, and it's so good to see you here. To kick things off, can you share your journey in this space and some of the key changes you've seen and how technology has intersected with the commercial real estate world?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in the prop tech space for coming up to 12 years now. I transitioned over from the UK to the US and was at a private equity company that just invested in prop tech companies. And I've had the first-hand view in the startup world for prop tech and the evolutions that they've been going through, and then had the opportunity of working in multifamily for many years as well at RealPage. And then on to Hines, where I also got another perspective in commercial real estate, more on the property development side. There's always been this saying that in PropTech, the commercial real estate industry is antiquated and it's got some catching up to do from a technology perspective. And, the players are of an older generation and not necessarily adapting technology as quickly as the world would like. I think that's changing over the last couple of years. And I think since COVID, there's been a big focus on adopting technology and making sure that technology supports growth in the real estate technological spaces, that they are using it to drive efficiency, that they're using it to enhance prospective tenants, existing tenants, user experiences, and that they're making as much technology accessible globally as they can. You shouldn't have to sit in the building that you're managing to manage that building. All of your tools and resources should be available from anywhere with a good internet connection.
Yeah, no, that is so true. So true.
And so I think that there's been a big shift with that thinking, and I think COVID really helped push that along and really change the mindsets of those that were lagging with adopting technology. And I think that also that with new tools and technology that's available to us today, that's really helping the cause at the moment. Using automations to get guest cards processed or websites created or landing pages created for new buildings at the press of a button with minimal information, because your tools can go source the information that they need from other places, has really meant that we've got this rapid development now coming into play.
It is. It's so true. And, I think there's still opportunity for the industry of prop tech to really clearly showcase what the value is. I think in many conversations that I'm having right now, there's still like, and I hate to use this word, and I think maybe I'm overusing it now, is like the mystery meat, right? The mystery meat of automation, the mystery of AI. It reminds me of the digital marketing days when we first started launching digital marketing products, and people are like, I don't fully understand this. So do you also see that there's still room for the prop tech industry to really share the value?
There is. I think that there's a lot of opportunity to grow here and learn specifically. And I think in some of the newer tech, we're playing that game of catch up whilst you're running operations. It's learning the art of possible, learning how AI can support your daily business activity, support your products, support your software, support your services and your solutions. And I think what's that saying, that people are, learning to fly the plane whilst being in that pilot seat.
It's it's sharing the value, and then it's also, I think maybe you've experienced this too. It's making sure that it's simplifying and enhancing the on-site teams, the finance teams, every team that touches it, making their business easier to do.
Yeah, and I think that just picking up on that a little bit, that's where some of the larger organizations are maybe a little bit more challenged. They've grown and they've scaled the way that they have, but that means that they've got so many complex processes that are running the business in the back end, and adopting new technology whilst you're trying to keep the lights on and keep everything else moving and smooth can be challenging.
It absolutely can.
And most businesses can't afford to stop and pause to really evaluate what needs to be done.
And residents won't wait, right? They can't have their service disrupted.
No.
Yeah, that is so true. Well, on that note, what are the emerging technologies that you believe will have the biggest impact on multifamily and commercial real estate and the way companies operate?
Well, the buzzword at the moment is AI, and I think that is true for many reasons. But utilizing AI, generative AI, and automations is definitely going to be pivotal for companies in streamlining their processes, ensuring that their solutions are driving consistency, and really elevating user experiences. It's that age-old way, as a consumer, as a renter, as a tenant, we're using all of these technologies in our day-to-day lives already. You want to utilize that in your work environment too. You want to be able to adopt those in that space as well. So that's definitely key here. I think that there's the way in which all of the social media platforms are evolving is definitely a watch this space area, because the way in which we market to those prospects, the way in which we target those that are looking to re-up on their leases, take out a new rental agreement, take out spaces for things that we haven't thought about. I know people that work from home and have a desk in a co-working space because they want to be able to get out and find the right balance for them in their hybrid work environments to socialize, network, and have quiet spaces to get work completed in. But how we market to them, how we attract those folks, and how we use digital marketing is rapidly evolving today. The launch of platforms like TikTok, and there'll be more of those popping up, there already are, but they're targeting their audiences in a very different way, giving them glimpses into reality versus this polished, glossy brochure that we've always operated under. The best TikTok videos are those of, here's a day in the life at Google, and this is what the cafeteria has in today, and, this is my snack bar. We're looking at all of those amenities through a different lens, and it's a selling point.
Yeah, no, it is. It's adjusting to the new demographics of marketing and where they're at, and getting really creative. There's actually a couple groups on LinkedIn too of teams on properties that have started to market differently, even on LinkedIn. And I think it's super, super compelling and creative. So live work is a big theme. Connection, that's another theme, right? Residents want to feel connected in the way that they want to connect, which some people, it's multi-generational too. So you've got some residents that still want to talk to a live person or see a live person. And then you've got other individuals that don't need to see anybody in person ever, but they want to make sure they're being served and serviced at a very rapid pace, or it gives a bad impression of disconnected service. So those are all good themes.
I think the other one is around virtual reality and extended reality. And I don't think that the prop tech space is utilizing that enough. And some of that is down to consumer accessibility. Typically for the best experiences, you're having to purchase specialized goggles or, visual assets to be able to see through. But I think that there is potential for that to grow. We're seeing more and more growth in that space and use cases coming up that you wouldn't have imagined. Beyond just, hey, let's just create this in the metaverse, is how do we use these tools to really give people a feel for the lifestyle of a community and adapt the content we're creating for those tools to showcase that.
Changes the role of the marketing person as well and the on-site team.
It really does. Yeah.
I was in my mind, I'm like, okay, so you have an old leasing trailer at a lease up. You could actually have virtual reality immersion at the leasing trailer while you're building the property out of the ground. That would give more of an immersive experience. So I think there is a lot going on in leveraging that equipment as it becomes more commercially adopted as well.
Available. Mm-hmm.
Any other trends in the technological space before we move to the next question?
I think those are the big ones coming up. Integration is the other area though that applies to the trends. I think that making more and more solutions available within other platforms, within other solutions, and giving end users, whether that's property management companies or the renters, a seamless experience is key. Now, again, it goes back to products and services have been developed in such a way, especially for the larger organizations, that there's so much complexity around how they've been built, how they've grown, from so many case studies out there that a lot of the companies are growing by acquisition. And so they're bolting on other products and services to their core offering and finding approaches to really simplify their process of integration. It shouldn't, in today's day and age, with the technology available to us, take years to integrate one product to another. And I think that that's still happening. From stories I hear, it is still happening, and it shouldn't. We should have plug and play solutions that really, lean into making technology open and accessible.
That's a really good point. I was at the Blueprint conference in Vegas last month, and that was a very hot topic of conversation. And then the other part of that I also think touches that is then you also have a lot of property management companies that are also in the same situation themselves, right? They have grown through acquisition, or they've grown so fast that their systems internally haven't even kept up. So I think it's like a perfect storm between both sides of that equation as well, kind of pressing on the ability to be agile and the ability to really pivot quick enough and stay competitive in the space.
I think being willing to invest in getting to that point too. Companies need to realize that there will be a time investment, a resource investment with getting the right people on board, and a technology investment as well to make sure that your products are configured in a way in which others can access them and or information can be passed through.
That's so true. It's important right now, and it's planning season. So those of you listening,
exactly,
really good timing for Sheena to bring all of this up for our conversation.
Get that into your 2025 budgets for sure.
Ooh, and there's so much pressing on the financial planning right now too. Staffing turnover, retention, a lot of markets with a lot of lease up competitiveness, cost issues. So it's an interesting time to be trying to plan for your assets for 2025 and beyond. So on that note of another topic is sustainability. And it's becoming a very significant focus in commercial real estate, multifamily. How is PropTech helping the industry move forward towards a more smarter, sustainable building that aligns with the future of work?
Great question, and very relevant because I recently worked on a project around this. Quite frankly, in my observation, the US is lagging, incentivizing developers, property management companies in adopting greener ways of working, driving efficiency. When you look at the comparisons over in Europe and Asia, for example, the governments are giving incentives and grants to really drive net zero buildings and decarbonization efforts. There are startups and organizations coming up with ways to monitor your carbon outputs, to monitor your building efficiency from that perspective. And companies are being incentivized to reach certain goals in those areas. We're not seeing the same trends here. Here it's the companies, and by companies, the developers and the property management companies that have their own objectives and goals that they're striding to reach, and they are trying to drive those changes. But the solutions in the US are more expensive to adapt and integrate into your buildings. Because it typically is physical hardware going into, however many floors you have to track and monitor your building's efficiencies. There's different ways of developing your buildings from the ground up if you're trying to reduce your carbon footprint that are more expensive today. It's using different materials that aren't widely used over here. They're still being built and used as case studies because there's so few of them coming up. And so I think that there's a macro shift that needs to happen in the US, at least, for greener buildings being built to be the commonplace, to be the norm, to be the default approach, because it's not the default today. It's definitely a more higher investment type of building. And I think that as a result of that, there aren't many players in the US that supporting the data analytics around building efficiencies and property development.
That's interesting. I wonder if the current financial environment is also playing in on that as well, making a deal make sense from the ground up. And then it also gets into the topic of retrofitting, right? So that's like even a whole other topic of making like a remodel or a rebrand or a reposition make sense as well. So I am seeing more of those conversations happening. Blueprint had quite a few conversations around sustainability. Mary Nitschke, who I used to work with at Prometheus and RealPage, also, big proponent of the ways to kind of move towards that. I wonder how we get this conversation, to get more legs to it. What will make that shift happen?
I think there's a desirability for sure,
Mm-hmm.
but we need more of a voice here. I know the CRE Tech did a whole campaign around sustainability, and we're really driving some conversations for a while. I know the Hines are also really fond of being a leader in this space and want to really, show how things can be done. And there are some other big names out there that are doing it, but it's being consistent with those conversations, really thinking about the way in which we can take lessons from other countries and bring them back here and make it more accessible from an investment perspective, as well as making the resources more available here.
Incentives too. It's reminding
and
me
incentives and grants,
like
absolutely.
some tax credits or grant credits from jurisdictions. There also goes into like market demand, right? I can think of, like, I live in California where I think the market demand would be high. We've also been going through significant energy cost increases, which I think also has been hard to absorb. all around, whether you're an individual or an organization. So it'll be interesting to watch as that evolves.
Well,
And then
that raises the question of who's picking up the cost of this as well. When you build a green multifamily property, is the renter paying for the additional features there with living in a more sustainable building? There are some of us that are thinking about that on a daily basis and willing to pay the extra rental income to live in a green space. But if you're looking for somewhere to live based on just the cost and amenities that you get and the trade-off between that, living in a green building doesn't necessarily come to the top 5 of your list or top 10 of your list because the trade-offs just don't exist. And same in the commercial spaces as well. The square footage, the rent per square foot on a green building is definitely going to be higher today than you would get in another building that's comparable in every other way.
Yeah, widely available, widely adopted, and widely penetrated. That is so true. It's a good topic. Yeah. There's a lot more that needs to happen on it overall. So thank you for sharing. As the future of PropTech evolves, what are the key skills that you think leaders and professionals in PropTech will need to thrive in this changing landscape?
I think the openness to learn and learn from your teams. More often than not, we see leaders going into organizations as the expert and being that all-knowing role and figurehead for those teams. With the pace of technology changing as quickly as it is at the moment, we have to be open to learning from those in our teams that are absorbing this information, learning, bringing in their skill sets from other companies, and being open to listen to what changes they're wanting to see, have seen work well in other organizations and other places and other industries as well. In the realm that I've been working in more recently, it's taking that knowledge from what works in other industries that could work really well in PropTech. As we're looking at some of the startup inventions, it's, hey, what's Tinder doing right that we could use in the PropTech space, or what's the food industry doing that could be utilized here because they're meeting customer demands on a daily basis and turning things around quickly, or the aviation department in terms of meeting those sustainability goals. How have they gone ahead and reduced their carbon footprints and gaining? I think aviation today has more awareness around it when it comes to sustainability than PropTech does. How have they reached that? It's being open to learning and understanding how others are operating. I also think it's being adaptable. The new generation that are coming into the workforce today, the generation that have been in the workforce for the last 10 years have seen some major shifts in the way in which they operate in the corporate environment and the corporate landscape. We went from all in at the office day in, day out, and we didn't imagine a world where you weren't working in an office 5 days a week, to going completely remote, to then shifting back to being hybrid. And I think that path and that journey is still evolving. I don't think we've landed on what's going to be, our new norm for the next 20 years, because there's a shift in mindset that's come with that. And there's a change in expectations that's come with that on both the employers and employee side. Mm-hmm. And so being adaptable to changing with those changes as they come up is definitely key. And then remembering that most of the people that are choosing to go into a corporate role in an organization that's growing want to impact change. They want to be heard. They want to feel valued. And it's your job as a leader to ensure that they have the tools and resources available to them to be heard, to continue to grow. And they have the opportunity to grow into areas that may not service your department directly, but you're opening those doors for them to grow elsewhere. And I think that that's the key for, at least for me, in a good leader. It's, I had a scenario very early on in my career. I think it was my first job out of university. And I had a CIO of the company go, hey, Sheena, I know this isn't appropriate, but this was back in the day when we had jobs advertised in newspapers. But she came in with a newspaper I'm showing my age now. She came in with a newspaper and she was like, look at this job advert. This is the role you should be in, and I can't create that opportunity for you here. Put my name down as a reference, apply for the role, and go grow, because that's what I want to see from you. And
Wow.
we don't hear that happen today. Those stories are so far and few between. But that's really when you know that the leader has your best interest at heart. And if that environment is being created for you, your team members, your employees are going to thrive and flourish in those environments.
That is so spot on. I think we all have those people, right, that have really stood out as leaders we really want to be. And they've made a big impact in our lives. And being those leaders now is a call, I think, for all of us in a way to give back to those coming up. And you've shared some really powerful traits. I think being flexible, having that beginner's mindset to always learn. I know many conversations, especially this year, as many people have kind of gone through job transitions or perhaps even layoffs, being that person that's open to learning new soft skills and hard skills too, right? And learning from other generations and those skills is going to keep you not only relevant, but an impactful leader, driving a culture that's, I think we need more of a cultural shift in corporate America.
We need more of a cultural shift. I think it's coming in slowly. It's happening. I just think that we need to open up our minds to embrace it a little bit more to speed that along.
I think that multi-generational of giving back to each other would make just like a killer combo too, right?
Absolutely.
The new and the seasoned. What excites you most about the future of PropTech and its role in reshaping the industry over the next 5 years? What do you see that really excites you?
For me, it's the evolution of how we live, work, and play. I think that is changing a lot. Having the conveniences at your doorstep of being able to step into a conference room for an important presentation you've got to give, and go next door to the coffee shop, and then run upstairs to, take 5 in your apartment, in your living space. Really, rethinking the way in which, and this kind of goes broader than multifamily and commercial real estate, but we're seeing it happen as cities are growing and in urban planning as well. But having those conveniences available to you, I think that we've moved so much into this world of instant gratification that, if you have to drive more than 5 minutes to get your coffee, or walk more than 5 minutes to get your coffee in some of the more urban areas, people just don't want to do it anymore. They want this rapid turnaround time. They want shorter transition times between activities that they're doing. That's definitely changing the landscape of how the multifamily industry is moving. I think also this whole concept of creating opportunities for making both spaces available in, whether that's co-working spaces, but shifting this thought process around multifamily spaces leasing out their conference rooms or leasing out their storage units, or, really thinking about the way in which they can generate additional income through amenities and services that they already have. And same in the commercial real estate space as well. So many people today are looking for raw, empty floors for conferences and exhibitions and seminars. There's no reason why, a building that has vacant floors can't be leasing them out by the day, by the week, or by the month. And there are then the supporting businesses out there that will furnish that space for you for a month. And whether that's in multifamily or in the commercial office spaces too, they will get you desks, tables, and you can have a contact center up and running in the space of a month. And I think that there's a huge potential there, just making spaces more accessible for businesses in that area. I think Airbnb has really helped people think about how to provision their services in different ways.
that sharing economy, right? Flexible sharing economy.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you were kind of talking about like that hyper localness as well. I think people are looking for connection and community and convenience. And I don't know if you have these in Texas, but we have something here now called local kitchens. And they'll put like 7 to 10 restaurants inside a little local kitchen in a retail spot that you can go and get that restaurant's food within like 5 minutes of your house. And I'm like, that
I
is
love that.
so smart. And then I've also seen some property managers really getting creative with their spaces and offering them up in different purposes than they were intended when they were first built. So I think getting creative about our spaces and flexible is important. Some managers are even doing weddings at their properties and renting them out on wedding sites. So that's a really great topic, Sheena, and I appreciate your perspectives today as well. And thank you so much for joining us on PropTech Pulse today. Look forward to
My pleasure. That
having you
time went
back.
by really fast. Thank you so much for having me.
You're most welcome.
And that wraps up another episode of PropTech Pulse. I hope this conversation has given you valuable insights and perhaps even sparked some ideas for your own PropTech journey. Remember, the future of multifamily is being written right now with every technological advance and innovative solution. So stay curious, stay connected, and keep your finger on the pulse of PropTech. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to PropTech Pulse on your favorite podcast platform and share this along with your colleagues. You can also find us on social media for bite-sized insights and updates. I'm Shelley Robinson, and until next time, let's keep innovating, disrupting, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in PropTech and multifamily. Let's build it together.